Hey folks, welcome to the channel. In today's build, I'm going to be making a huge Damascus bowie knife. This one has a blade that's over 11 inches long. We're going to be making it with mosaic Damascus with pure nickel in the center. I'm calling this the Nickel Storm Bowie. Let's get at it. Here's our starting stack. Alternating layers of 15 and 20 and 1084 with that shiny nickel in the center. First, we got to forge weld this stack together in one solid piece of steel. Now we're going to work on reducing this to a square bar. Now we're going to do a little distortion on this and knock in the corners on this square bar. It's going to look something like this. Now I'm going to forge it into a flat bar again, and that's going to turn it into these, and that's what we call C's. I've cut our bar into 5 and restacked it with 1084 in between, and now it looks like this. Once again, we got to forge this into one solid block, and we're going to do that over a couple of heats. I'm getting the block to a complete square, and then just like before, I'm going to knock in the corners, but this time I'm going to leave it re-squared on that new bias. Once it's fully re-squared, it's going to look something like this, and you can see how the layers have changed. Now we've taken our bar and cut it into 4 and stacked it around itself like what you see here, and also put some more 15 and 20 in the center to make that cross. After forge welding the block together, we're just going to keep it square and draw it out into a long bar, because we're going to 4-way this again. Our pattern's looking pretty cool, but now we're going to distort it one more time. After we forge welded the block together, again, we're going to knock in the corners, and that will change that very linear 15 and 20 lines into more ovals when we tile it together. Because our pattern is only on the end of the billet, we need to slice it up into tiles and tile them out. Now that I have the steel done for the blade, because it has nickel in it, I don't want it on the edge. So I'm going to take some 1084, 15 and 20 alternating layers, twist it, and we're going to use that as an edge bar. I've already got this billet forged out. Now I'm just going to square it up so I can put it in my twisting machine. There's something really satisfying about twisting Damascus. I had one piece in the center that just wasn't twisted enough, so I decided just to heat that section with the induction forge and then twist it. So here's the billet after the tile weld. I haven't taken the outside sacrificial steel off just yet, but I have ground the edges because I'm going to take the twist Damascus that you saw me make, and we're going to weld this onto the edge. I'm going to be stripping this down. You can kind of see these lines. I'm going to be grinding that off and then actually shaving almost half of this off, and then it's going to get welded to the bottom. And we're going to forge weld that. I'm going to put a little piece of sacrificial steel on the top, just so that when I draw it out, the ends of the billet don't split. It'll just be a little insurance. So here's the test etch on our steel so far. We can see that these kind of diamond shapes are about twice as high as they are wide, which is perfect because we need to draw this out because it's still over a ½ inch thick. So we're going to stretch this out with the rolling mill, get these back to square, and we should be perfect. And we should have the billet's about 8½ inches long, so I'm guessing we're going to have about a 16-inch billet. So either one big knife or probably enough for two. Because this billet has an edge bar, I can't just cut the knife out of it. I have to forge it to shape, and that's what I'm doing now. Forging mostly the tip and the edge portion to make it flow, and then I can kind of play with the rest. I didn't want to use the press for any of this because I was afraid it was going to get away from me, so that's why I'm hand hammering everything. I'm starting to see that bowie shape come out of the knife. But now I'm going to change over and move to forging in the tang. And for this, I am going to use the press. And now back to the anvil to get it stretched out and tweak it just how I like it. So we forged out this blade, came right in around about a 10-inch blade. You'll notice I cut the edge bar right here because I wanted the edge bar to terminate right at the ricasso, which I got to trim back a little anyway. But pretty happy with this one. Now I'm just going to fix the profile. I need to do a little bit of grinding up here. Plus, there's still a little bit of the sacrificial steel that I added to the spine. So let's go to the grinder and fix out the profile. Okay, so we've done the profile of this blade. Now it's ready to start grinding. But something different I want to do in this blade. I want to do some carving, meaning I want to have kind of a curved fuller in this part of the blade, and then this to be a hollow and another hollow up here for the false edge. So lots of relief in this blade. The way I'm going to do this is I formed this bar here the same shape as this, and I'm going to be using a die grinder in order to make this, and I've just done some tests here on this piece just to see what that's like, and I think I can make it happen, so let's do it. Okay, so that went pretty well. Little kind of oops on this side, but I don't think it's too serious. This was the second side and it came out much cleaner. But this is just pre-heat treat, so we're going to fix it up after heat treat. So now I'm going to do the false edge, and we're going to do those in a hollow, and I want it to come up and just hit the top of this peak, and then we'll do our bevel again in a hollow to come up and hit that peak. Okay, the false edge turned out really good on this one. I love how it just meets up with the top of the fuller. And now we're going to do the bevel, the main bevel. In order to make this easier, because I like to grind on the rest, with a bowie like this, you got a sharp point here, and this isn't flat. What I like to do sometimes, especially for these bigger ones, is just take a piece of wood here like this, put a groove in it, and I'm just going to CA glue this, so then I'll have a nice flat spine to grind with. Alright, we got our pre-heat treat bevels done. Time to get this in for heat treat. Here's the blade after heat treat. Unfortunately, I missed the footage of it actually going into the quench, but it came out really nice. Nice and hard. Haven't actually tested it yet, but I will. And I did just surface grind the sides. And now I'm ready to redo these channels. You can see that it took quite a bit off these, which I expected. But we're going to go down and redo these. So the final grinding is done. It took a while. Especially right here in this section. I had to do this with the die grinder by hand just because I had to get this little section here. But it's got a nice fine edge. Now we're ready for the long slog of hand sanding. So I've got the blade sanded to 400 mostly. Right here, the ricasso area is sanded to 800, and that's because I want that to pretty much to final thickness, because we're going to start working on the guard. And you can see here's a top view, and you can see it's bent down pretty far. What we're going to do is take this piece of steel and just mostly grind this guard out, and then we're going to heat it up and bend the tip down. This part was really sketchy. The grinder wanted to pull that piece and wedge it against the rest that I was setting it on. I had to be really careful. So there's the guard so far. I've got the major contours in it, the point, the ridge on the top, and these two coming up to the blade. Obviously, I need to taper this, which is next. That's why I didn't bother. I did sand this just to get the majority of the grind lines out before I bent it. I just figured it would be easier that way. These are going to be taken off when I taper. So now I'm going to taper it, and then actually I'm going to do the little scoop underneath because much of this is going to get taken out. So let's go do that. This is the last step in finishing the guard. Now I'm going to bend it with an oxy torch. I'm using a piece of wood here to bend it, just so I don't put any dings in it. Now that the guard's all fit up, I went and just slotted the spacer, which is a piece of twist damascus. I got some nickel on either side that I've also slotted. And time to think about the handle. All right, we got the hole drilled in our handle. It's a little loose, which is on purpose. We're going to line it up, and then we're going to bed it with epoxy so that it slides on exactly right every time. So I bedded the tang, and I've also drilled the back hole and put some all thread on the back of the tang, and now it fits nice and snug, and you can see that that comes out there. Now it's time to work on the pommel nut, which we're going to do out of mild steel to match the guard because they're both going to be blackened. So here's our completed pommel nut. I did drill a hole through it so we could put one of these in it to actually tighten it, but let's put it on. Obviously it's going to go on a little tighter, and we're going to actually profile the handle next. And this is actually going to have a cap on the end of it, which is going to be made out of this damascus, which is the same as the blade. So there's going to be kind of an oval cap that'll be a little smaller in inset from the butt of the knife. But the pommel nut will drill through this. So I think that's going to look pretty cool. So we got the handle pretty much done. I've even sanded it to 220. It's very comfortable in the hand. And the pommel nut fits on here just nicely. It doesn't screw in all the way because I still need to trim the tang. Now it's time to move on to the butt cap. So I shaped this and did a little grinding on it, and you can see it's the same shape as the back. And now we need to bend it. So luckily this dish is about exactly the same as the back of the handle. So I'm just going to heat this up in the induction forge and give it a little whack. So I bent this, done a little more grinding so that there's a nice border around it. And now the tricky part of digging out this. I'm going to try this with the rotary tool just to do the border and then do the inside with maybe something else like a Dremel. But let's see how it goes. So after a lot of finicky playing, this is fitting up really nicely. So now time to heat treat this piece of Damascus, and then I'll do the final grinding on it to just dome this over and make it look nice. So I got everything sanded, the handle's already been sanded and buffed, everything's ready for etching. The one thing I'm going to do first is the coining, which is just the little ribbing on the sides of these two spacers, the nickel on the edge of the spacer. So let's go to the vise and I'll show you how to do that. So doing this is pretty easy. I've just marked out with a scribe where I want these lines. Then I'm going to be using a jeweler saw and just going down about the width of the saw blade on each one. So there's all the pieces complete. The etch on the blade looks just amazing. I'm very happy with it. The only downside is that I had to coffee it twice. And because of that, I had to do a pretty aggressive buffing, and I lost the nickel on the maker's mark. It was just, I just didn't have a choice. I really needed to get the etch really nice, so I'll work on that on the next one. But let's put it together.